Hi guys and welcome back to OzMTG. I'm your host Tim, and today I have a Dominaria United Commander product called Legends Legacy. I'm going to open up and give you my review on it. I'll go through and do a quick pack opening, and then I'll talk about all the different slots and what I enjoy, what I like out of it, and what I think will impact the Commander format. So here we have the box inside. Let's see what's in here. It comes with Spacer, Life Wheel, Dominaria United Collector Boosters Sample Pack. These are interesting. You have the deck itself, a little how to play guide, no one needs that, and then the commander itself, which this is the thicker version of the card, which sits alongside the tokens. So it's one of those nice thick cards. You can always use it as your commander if you want, so you can pull it out and put it into other things. You've got your little Ragavan token here, which is good to see. Then we have the main deck and the collector booster sample. Let's see what we get in here. These can have some interesting cards. They always come with a junk card to begin with. And, oh, Shivan Devastator, full art. That's nice to see. Okay, so let's start off with the lands. Straight away we have Nomad Outpost. I really don't like these lands. I'd probably throw them in the bin, maybe get a Triome, maybe get something that you can fetch things up with, even a Myriad Landscape, anything that you can afford that's reasonably cheap. I'd throw it in this deck. Then we have the Pain lands. So you've got those two, which is quite nice. Dragon Skull Summits, handy. Smoldering Marsh. The reveal lands, you've got the Scry cycle, so you've got 3 temples, which are really handy to have, especially in a red, white, black deck. You don't have a lot of card draw, so scryings can be nice. You've got the bounce lands. I really like these in Commander. Sometimes even just keeping a normal land and a bounce land in an opening hand can be quite good, so I really like them. You have quite a lot of legendary lands. These play quite well because it is a legendary matters deck. So I definitely like them in there. Mobilized District isn't a legendary land, but it can become a citizen with vigilance and it looks at the amount of legendary creatures and or planeswalkers you control. So in this deck, it can be quite good. You've got Shivan Gorge, which can shoot your opponents, but it's legendary. Shizo's Death Storehouse, great, amazing card. If you're going to buy the set, this is actually probably one of the best cards in it. Being able to give your creatures fear. It's been a long time since it's been reprinted. It was back in Kamigawa it came out, so the prices were through the roof. If only you just buy a single from the set, I would probably buy this one. You have the God one. There's some interesting ways to use this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it in this set. You can turn your commander into a creature using artifacts and stuff like that, and then you can make it indestructible with this as well. It can make itself indestructible, so I don't know. I think it's okay, but yeah. Let's see, we've got Reliquary Tower and Bajuka Bog. Bajuka Bog's always amazing. Put it in every deck you can. Command Tower, and then you've got the 2 ways to search. These are okay. You could always replace them with like the cheap ones from Capana, that the one that comes in, sacrifices itself, heals. You could easily swap one of these out with it. There's a couple of things. I mean, searching with only 3 colors it's sometimes it's needed, but yeah, there are always replacements in it. Next up, we've only got 1 enchantment in this. We've got Day of Destiny, which your legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. 4 mana to give your creatures +2/+2 on an enchantment. Pretty good. This one hasn't been reprinted for a while, so it was getting up there in price. I think it's decent in this set, especially considering you're trying to push for a lot of legendary creatures. I would also try to eliminate some of the other cards in this set to put more legendary creatures in my deck as well. So let's talk about sorceries. We have Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, your eternal legendary permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. 7 mana, it's a lot, but I mean, you can get back a lot as well. So if you've got a full legendary deck, it can get your lands back, you can get back everything like other planeswalkers if you're throwing a few more planeswalkers in this deck. I like it. It's going to be good in this deck. You're really looking for legendaries. Good card. You've got Urza's Ruinous Blast. Exile all non-land permanents that are legendary. Great card. 5 mana. A little bit more than normal Wrath cost, but you're running all legendary. Other people will have some legendaries. Obviously, they're commanders, but it will punish token decks and things like that. It will punish any artifacts and enchantments that aren't legendaries too, where that's quite good. So you just have to make sure in this deck that you're not going to be wiping out your soul rings and bits and pieces like that unless you really need to. But it is a good card with the synergy that you've got. Then you've got Kaya's Wrath. Destroy all creatures, gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled this way that were destroyed. Great card. 4 mana Wrath, and it can heal you a bit as well. I like it. Ambition's Cost. Draw 3, lose 3. Okay, not too bad. You've got a lot of other ones like Sign in Blood and bits and pieces. You could swap them out depending on which one you want. Faithless Looting, always amazing. 1 mana, draw 2, discard 2. Get deeper into your deck, see what you can get. Night Whisper, here's another one of them. Draw 2, lose 2. And Read the Bones, there you go. Scry 2, draw 2. So it does have a lot of ways to sort of dig deeper in your deck. Not too bad. I'll probably replace them with a little bit more effective cards, but still pretty decent. Now we're on to the instants. We've got Bedevil. I'm a big fan of Bedevil being able to hit a Planeswalker with it as well for 1 extra mana. Not too bad. You can hit artifacts as well, which is pretty good. Unbreakable Formation, give your creatures indestructible. It's okay. I mean, we're looking at a legendary creatures deck. They're usually more expensive. You're not creating tokens and bits and pieces. So it can be good to protect them. Generous Gift, amazing card. It's literally the white mana of Beast Within. So yeah, I love it. Great card. Good to see a reprint. Hero's Downfall, it's alright. I mean, you could always swap it for a Terminate or something like that. It does target a Planeswalker, which is quite nice. Now that there is more Planeswalkers as commanders, it could get better. Mortify, destroy target creature or enchantment. I definitely would prefer this. Killing a creature or an enchantment is a lot more effective than just shooting a Planeswalker usually. Wear and Tear, destroy your artifacts or destroy an enchantment or both, can be really good. I like it. And Thrill the Possibility, kind of like our discard draw effects, it works quite well. Now we're on to the artifacts. We've got Dryad's Hourglass Pendant. It's a 1 mana flash. If a player would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. You can tap it for 4 and exile it, and you return to the battlefield tapped all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and land cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. So for 5 mana, you can flash it in, pay 4, tap it, and prevent yourself getting hit by a board wipe. This is an amazing card. I really love this. You can stop extra turns, which is really nice, but also being able to protect yourself from a board wipe. It's also legendary artifact, so it plays quite well with all your legendary matters cards. I think this is a great card from the set. I would love to get a lot of them. We also have another good card. This is the Reaver Cleaver. It's a legendary artifact, so that helps. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and trample, so it gives you creature trample, which is very good. And when this creature deals combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, you create that many treasure tokens. It's expensive to cast. It's pretty expensive to equip. It could go crazy in the right situations. If you're doing a lot of damage, I'd like to see this. I guess it has trample, which is not too bad, but putting it on something with evasion, so like a flyer or something like that, it's not too bad. It does play alright with your commander because you are giving your creatures vigilance, lifelink, and indestructible. So it can work really well with your commander's plus ability. Yeah, it's not a bad card. It's expensive to equip, but I mean, if you can do some damage, you can get that mana back from the treasure tokens as well. You got Blackblade Reforged, amazing card. Great, you're running legendaries. You're going to have a lot of lands as commander. It's going to be a really good card. Heroes Podium, another great one. Each legendary creature gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control, and then you can scry on the top. Good card, I like it, especially in the legendary creature deck. Then we've got Sword of the Chosen. This one hasn't been printed in a long time. 2 mana, and you can tap it to give target legendary creature +2/+2 until the end of the turn. It's interesting. The commander itself doesn't give evasion. I could see this working a lot better in like a dragon deck or something like that. It's not bad. It's not fantastic. It's okay, I would say. Got Bontu's Monument. These are legendary artifacts. The problem is your whole deck isn't 2-color or even single color, so these are not going to be overly effective. I don't think there's a real place for them in the deck. I would probably cut these in favor of other cards. Then we've got Tenzagoto's Maul, +1/+1 as long as it's legendary, which they all should hopefully be. And +2/+2 if it's red and trample. So this can be quite nice to be able to partner with your commander's plus effect. I'd probably keep it. Then we've got the mana, so we've got some Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Honor War Shaku, which can tap for mana, and you can tap an untap legendary permanent to untap this, so you can use it to generate enough mana if you need it. We've got Commander's Sphere, so there's not a bad amount of mana. There could be more. It feels a little lacking in ramp. I feel like you really need like a Myriad Landscape or a Solemn Simulacrum would be nice. I'd probably put something in here that can ramp a little bit better. Then we've got Hero's Blade, so +3/+2. When a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can attach it to it, so a free equip. Excellent. I mean, it's 2 mana. You're going to be playing a lot of legendary creatures. It's going to be good. We've got Aketra's Monument. Same thing again. It's white creature spells. It's color selective. It's not amazing. I would probably ditch this card. Same thing, Hazards. It allows you to loot, which is nicer, but I mean, it's the same thing again. You're not really going to be, you're not a red only deck. We've got Fell Warstone, which can be handy. Hedron Archive. It's okay. There's better mana out there. I'd probably start looking for more legendary effects that can generate mana. Probably replace that. So I missed an artifact. There was this one hiding away in my creatures. This is called Circle of Loyalty. It's an interesting card in this deck. You're not running Knight Tribal, so you're not going to get cost reduction to cast it really. There's not a lot of Knights in here, but it does have that whenever you cast a legendary spell, you get a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. And then also you can create them as well. Gives buffs your creatures. Interesting. Um, I'd probably leave it in. It could be okay late game as a mana sink just to keep pumping out knights and also buff your creatures. It could be okay. There could be better spots for that though. Then we're on to the creatures. So we have Garner. Garner's good. I like Garner. 5 mana, flashing in, putting all creatures back into your hand, and gives your creatures haste. Can be pretty good. A lot of your creatures are legendary creatures, so you kind of want to hit sometimes with them. Um, Good all round to have those options there. Flash them in at the last end step before your turn as well when you've got the mana open. We've got Arvad the Cursed. He's really good in this deck because your other legendary creatures get +2/+2, and him himself has Death Touch and Lifelink. It's a shame that his effect didn't buff himself because it would have been nice to have a 5 mana 5/5, but he is only a 5 mana 3/3, so he's okay. He's good, but he's okay. You got Giselle Goldmane. I do like Giselle Goldmane. 4 mana, 4/4, first striker, really good. And then you can give all your creatures +X/+X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. In this deck, you want to be swinging pretty hard. You're not making a lot of creatures, so it's not as impactful, but it can help you win the game. I like him, even just his ability alone. We've got Drana, Liberator Malkia, amazing card. Really cool to see it get it reprinted and put into the set. It was getting up there in price. 2/3 flyer with first strike for 3, and then her ability as well is really nice to see. You got Zapolta, the Primal Dawn, expensive. So yeah, I'm going to keep it in the deck just purely for the lifelink part that your commander can give it. I think that extra life can be nice. And it's until your next turn too. So having vigilance, you can swing for 8, heal for 8, and then also you've got a big blocker that's going to hopefully heal you for another 8. I think it can be good. It's expensive. It's an expensive late game one. There's other things that could be better, but it's interesting with the commander. Traxos Scourge of Krug. This guy cops a bit of a bad rap. He hasn't been in a lot of decks, but being able to untap him when you cast his historic spells and 4 mana for a 7/7 and trample, I really like him. I've used him in a lot of my artifact decks, and he is very effective at throwing in some damage, even clearing out people's creatures. Being that you can give him vigilance essentially by casting a historic spell in your main phase 2, I think he's worth keeping in the deck, and I think he's pretty good. You got Tashar, Ancient's Apostle. Yeah, it's legendary creature. It's nice. A creature card mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. I'm going to keep it in here because I want to put some mana value 3 and less legendaries in my deck, so I can see a spot where this could be good in there. It is a 4 mana flying 2/2, which is not that good, so you're trying to work off its ability. I think it can be okay in this deck. Tajik, Blade of the Legion, indestructible 2/2 for 4, but he gets +5 when he attacks with other creatures. Put your commander's effect on it. I mean, you don't need the indestructible, but the vigilance and the lifelink for 7, quite nice. Your Odric, there's a lot of like first strike, flying, death touch, word soup in this deck. I think he's actually quite nice for that ability and being able to spread around all your creatures. Neheb, 4 mana for a 5/4 with trample, and all he has to do is combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, which is quite nice. You can discard your cards, you can draw that many cards and get red mana, and the mana doesn't drop out of your pool. So I like him in this deck. I think he's really good. You don't have a lot of card draw in here. You've got some of those black spells to sort of filter through. But yeah, I think he's really valuable in this deck. Joseph Vest, the Lich Knight, not great to begin with, but late game, really good. Those 8/2/2 zombies with Menace can pretty much close out games, so I like it. I like being able to generate stuff. Atali's amazing. I love Atali. Hitting some crazy stuff off Atali can be amazing. I really feel that you need some like Swifties or some Lightning Greaves in this deck because you are running a lot of legendary creatures with cool effects and you want to be punching face pretty hard and pretty quick. Yeah, I think Atali's worth it, and I think you need to get him in there quick and easy. This guy is very interesting. So legendary rule doesn't apply to your tokens, and whenever another non-token legendary permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay one, create a copy of it, you sack it at the beginning of the next end step. Really cool effect. Nice being able to get tokens of your creatures that come in with haste. So same thing with the Atali, you put him in, you pay one, you get an Atali that can attack, and you don't lose your original one. He's a really good card. You got the Peregrine Dynamo. It's a 1/5 for 3, which is an interesting sized body. It's got haste and it can copy a targeted activated or triggered ability from another legendary source that's not a commander. So you can't copy your commander's ones, but you can copy all the other ones. So it is triggered and activated abilities, and it's only 1 mana. So I think this card is sneakily good. I can see quite a few decks where you'd really want a lot of these abilities, like you can get some decent effects that you can copy out of it. You got Anafenza Kintree Spirit, 2 mana 2/2, and then it bolsters your creatures when non-token creatures enter. Great card, good to see it reprinted in here. I like it. And then we're on to Moria Urborg Haunt. So you're 3 mana for a 3/2 Menace Spirit Wizard. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you return to the battlefield target creature in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. I don't like it in this deck. Don't get me wrong, I like this card. I think it's an amazing card. I want to put it in my Marin deck. I want to put it in a lot of decks that have ways to sacrifice my own creatures, because you need to be doing this before combat, because you've got to hit someone to trigger its effect, or be able to sacrifice one of your creatures during combat to put it there. So I can see it in a lot of other decks. I can see it being a fantastic commander card, but not in this deck. I don't like it in this deck. I will definitely be putting it in a lot more of my decks. Then we've got this nice little vampire here, Flying Death Touch Lifelink for 3 for a 2/2, which is pretty decent. But when you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, if life was paid to activate, you may pay that much life again. If you do, you can copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. Now, this is an interesting ability on this card. I haven't really found much in this deck that lets you use this ability, but there's some interesting synergy elsewhere with this card. I just don't see it in this deck. Then we've got Zirium the Golden Wind. 4 mana, 3/4 Flying Griffin. And when a Griffin you control deals combat damage to a player, you create another Griffin. In this deck, not amazing. In other decks, can be fantastic. In shapeshifter decks, anything like that wants this ability, this could be bonkers good. I like it for other decks. I don't like it for this deck. Then we've got Bladewing, the Deathless Tyrant. So there's another version of him now. He's the 7 mana, 6/6 Flying Haste. Dragon, always good for dragon decks. But when he deals combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, for each creature card in your graveyard, you create a 2/2 Black Zombie Knight creature token with Menace. Now, yes, you're going to have a lot of creatures, but really you're not going to be putting a lot into your graveyard. That's only if you're being board wiped or something like that. He could be okay later in the game. I don't think he's going to be amazing to begin with. I think there's a lot better decks that he could be in. I would prefer to put him into something with dragon synergy because he is that dragon. You get a little bit more bonus out of it, something like a Kalia deck or any of your Tiamat decks, anything like that. I could see him being a lot better in, but this deck, I would probably cut him in favor of something else. Adrian, Captain of the Guard, melee, gives you other creatures melee. Yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. It's not great. It could be replaced. There's a lot better legendary creatures, but I mean, if you can't fill the slot, it's still pretty decent in there. You got Leshu Smiles at Death. When she attacks, you can pay 2 mana. If you do, you return target creature with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. Interesting card. In this deck, the way that it's geared at the moment, not amazing, but the way that I want to gear it and go down the route of lower cost legendary creatures to be able to dump out a lot more and get a lot more value from it, I think it could be good in this deck for that. Ashling the Pilgrim, 1 mana, 1/1. You can put some +1/+1s on it and then hit creatures and players. I mean, it's not amazing. It's okay. I prefer it in something that looks for the elemental tribal or a shaman tribal. I don't really want it in this deck. Bel Barocca, Spectral Sergeant. Note the mana value of each card as it's put into exile. Its powers equal to the greatest number noted this turn. So, yeah, it's interesting because at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile top of card of the library. You can play it this turn. So if you hit a land, it's 0. On other players' turns, it's 0. You've really got to hit a big card to make this good for combat. It does give you an extra card per turn, and it is play the card. So if you exile a land, you can play the land instead. So 4 mana for an extra card each turn. If it sits around, it could be good. Is it worth it? I'm still undecided. If I find a better card for it, I would put it in, but it could be okay. I mean, it does work with Aleshu Smiles at Death as well because it is 0 to begin with. We've got Captain Lannery Storm, haste when she attacks, create a treasure token. Whenever you sack one, it gives it +1, +0 until the end of the turn. 3 mana to then gain a mana for a 2/2. Can be pretty good. I mean, we're legendary creature tribal here, buffing them as well, so it could be okay in this deck. We've got this guy, the Soul Hoarder. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have a lot of destruction. Your commander isn't really blowing things up for its possibilities. So 6 mana for a flying 6/6 with an ability that you're probably not going to use all that much. It can be good. It can be bad, especially the lose the life part as well, being that you don't get to choose. It's not a may. You must draw it and you must lose the life. Being able to manipulate it yourself is better. I'm probably going to pull this out of the deck. We've got Kari Zev, the Skyship Raider. Yeah, first strike menace 1/3 for 2 mana, and you get a Ragavan out of it. It's not bad. I like it. I've seen it do some work. It doesn't punch people to death, but I mean, you're running buffs. It's got a bit of evasion built in. It's first striking. You can get her pretty big. You can do the whole vigilance, lifelink, indestructible part from your commander. It can go alright in this deck. I'm quite liking it, and I like the way that these lower cost ones and their combat effectiveness will work. More akin to your red burn decks. You've got Krenko. When he attacks, you put +1/+1 on it, and then you create goblins equal to his power. Interesting in this deck. You can buff him, so when he attacks, you can get a whole heap of goblins. The goblins aren't legendary, so you're never going to really be buffing them or using them very effectively. I'm still undecided. He will probably be a maybe slot in my deck. And now we're on to the face commander and the alternate commander. So I do like her plus ability. I think it's quite nice being able to do that to your legendary creatures, and also having the option of turning her into a legendary creature with an artifact can work quite well. Um, the -3 is amazing on here because you reveal the top 4 cards, put any number of legendaries from among them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. Create a treasure token for each card put into your graveyard this way. So usually you're going to be discarding probably instants, some sorceries. There are some legendary sorceries now which are quite nice. Um, you have to reveal it so everyone can see what you're getting, which is a bit of a downside, but being able to gain some mana, and then also draw some cards. You could essentially draw 4 cards with this if you hit 4 legendaries, and if you hit a land or two, or an instant that you don't really need, it turns itself into mana, so that's quite nice. It's -11, you're probably never going to get because those abilities are so good, the +2 and the -3. I'd be using them constantly, but hey, if you make it all the way there, you gain control of all non-land permanents until the end of the turn. You untap them, they gain haste until the end of the turn. It's amazing. Yeah, it can just win you the game. Like, you can just grab everyone's stuff and then just use it to destroy them with it. Yeah, I wouldn't be banking on getting it, but um, it's nice to have as an option if you need it. So yeah, a really good commander planeswalker. I'm really impressed by her. Her abilities are really nice. The synergy's quite good. The art's amazing. It's really creepy. It looks really nice. So yeah. And then we've got the alternate commander here, which is a human knight for 4. You get a 2/4 for 4, which is not amazing. It has menace, but it does give your other legendary creatures menace. And also, when you play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, you draw a card and lose a life. That's probably the best part of this card. Giving your creatures menace, that's alright. But drawing a card, yeah, you lose a life. It'd be nice to gain a life, but you're in a few mana colors that can easily gain life as well. This, I think, could be a really decent commander. They did put Night Tribal in there as well, so yeah, you could go down the Night route if you really wanted to. But yeah, just going straight legendary with it as well can be really good, just for the crazy card draw, especially in these colors from a commander, is really nice. So yeah, I'm impressed too.